So now we are going to address a new point that is very important as well. It is topology. So I have talked about it in a vulgar way. I have mentioned this word a lot when I was doing a manipulation, but without really explaining what was related to topology. So the topology in Maya is the way in which the vertices, edges, and faces are arranged to form the 3D object. You know, the components we just saw, it's like the structure of the skeleton of an object. So we can see it here in our cube, that it has several vertices, several edges, and several faces. All of this is essentially the structure of the object that basically allows it to look like what it is. So, good topology is extremely important, as it affects how an object behaves and deforms when it is modified or animated. It also affects the way we visualize it, which we will just see shortly. So, a clean and well-organized topology generally allows for better control over the shape of the object. It facilitates modeling and animation operations, and it provides better results during the final render. So it's super important. When I basically informed you that it allows you to essentially impact how an object is animated and modified, it's that here, since it's a square, we will be able to modify it like this thanks to the topology after all. And this is what will give it that shape like this. So this is super important. Secondly, it's really important when the object is animated. So I have prepared for you. I have taken two images that I find quite illustrative. So we will place them right here. Now, here we have very good topology. This topology, especially when it is organic, is even more important. Because the organic, for example on this head, the topology will need to change. The face will possibly be animated. When it closes its eyes, the topology will play an essential role in the way the eyes close. You can see the folds here. All of this is due to the topology. If the topology were not in this shape, I can't draw. Too bad. On per F. It's not a big deal. So if the topology, I'm going to do it here, is like this, it's for a reason. It's so that there is this wrinkle. You see, this is a little bit of the shape of the topology right here. I can draw now. So there you go. If the shape of the topology were not at all like this, we would hardly have this kind of rigor. And the same goes for many things, for the eyes, etc. So here we have very good topology. So it is very important to know that there are two essential ways to create topology. That's why I'm bringing this image that I find very expressive, which comes from flip normals. It's people who also make tutorials on 3D. So here we have one, we have one. A good topology. It follows what we want, it has the right shapes, etc. But here we also have good topology. It's very hard to believe, but we can have good topology. Indeed, topology actually depends on how we use our object. In the video game, we will often encounter this type of topology, often in various scenarios. It's a topology that is triangular, that's what we call it. Because in fact, it's a succession of triangles. You see, I'm going to lower the size of my pen. You see here, these are all triangles. They are triangles. While here they are mostly, except for a few, exceptional because there is actually absolutely no other way to do it. These are faces that have, in fact, 4 vertices. They are called quads. So these are the quads. So a quad topology is essentially what is used in films, in animation, in everything that will ultimately be animated. And in everything that is animated, we don't really like. We like triangles, but not too much. We definitely prefer quads, okay? So we will definitely focus much more on quads, as it is indeed a general rule. In fact,
even if you want to make video games, you will still need to learn to model with quads. And anyway, Maya is designed for working with quads. So we are going to work in quads. There you go. This is already the way we will work. It will be exclusively in quads. Triangles will come, but in a very exceptional way. Indeed, even more than truly exceptional. You will see later that there are times when you will have to use triangles, that is for sure. But you should definitely prioritize quads much more. And there is one thing that we absolutely do not like at all. Whether it's the animators, the films, or those in video games. And that is handguns. Handguns, such as... That's right, handguns and other similar firearms. Handguns, such as this particular shape here, serve as an example. For instance, tactical handguns are designed for specific purposes. Here, what do we notice? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertices. Okay, here there are 4. That means there are 4 guns. Here there are n, which is an unknown because there can be an infinite number of n guns. There can be n guns with 6 vertices. This is what we hate the most because it leads to a lot of bugs and shading problems, and we will see that shortly. I will show you some examples so that you can understand it well. We definitely don't want that. So the solution would have been if we had a shape like this in our topology. For example, I'm talking here about if someone had done something a bit like this. You see, if you don't count the ledge that is there, if it doesn't exist, you can clearly see that it gives us a handgun with 5 sides. So this is something we don't want. I'm going to replicate it here. So there you go. Here you have this tap, 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 and snap. And there, hop. You see, that's something we definitely don't want. So here, the solution would have been to create an edge here. But then we would essentially have a triangle. So here we would need to actually change the shape again to end up with only quads by removing that. So that's why, in fact, here you shouldn't be afraid to see this kind of thing because it exists. Triangles are. If we see this, we think it's horrible. But in fact, it exists in certain cases. However, we will focus on a clean topology in quads, and that is really the main approach. So here we have seen that this topology is superb. This one is indeed much less beautiful. So here it's a bit of a mess after all. So yes, we have quads, we have triangles, which is not good at all, but there are places where we have quads. So here we think it should be fine. But in fact, it's not just about making quads, it's also about doing it well. I'm removing the perif, and I'll show you right away. So I made these 3 little slushy models, that's what I called them. Now here, try to find some differences for me. There aren't really any. I don't see any, at least from my point of view. And yet, when we switch to wireframe to see our topology, notice that everything is different. On the left, we have the good one. The good mesh with the right topology. That one is good. Whoops. I got a little carried away. That one is good. He has the quads. They are well aligned. It is harmonious because the edges are well placed. There are some at regular intervals. And that is also important to do. So, it is good topology. It is a topology that is correct, simple, and efficient. Here, it's not good at all. It's not good at all. Why? Because we have quads. I didn't put any handgun. I didn't even put a triangle. So we have quads. So up to this point we think, well, the topology is good. We can animate, everything is fine, we have quads, so everything is fine. But in fact, the alignment of edges is really important. So I consider that this is not a good topology. It's not a good topology because it's not harmonious. It's not aligned. And this is very, very important to be aware of. Here, I think you will have guessed it. What do we see here? We see handguns. We'll get closer later to see them better, but we have handguns. So yes, it's the same topology as this, but here I have handguns, and it's not good at all. It's even worse if you want it that way. Even though this looks like a total mess, this is even worse. So, let's take a closer look at what comes out of it. Here, we said it was good topology. Everything is fine. Here we go, we definitely have a poor topology. And here we have our handguns. So if I switch to vertex mode, you will understand better. You see that here we have this face that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 vertices. 3, 4, 5. 5 vertices and 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edges. Same here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a handgun with 6 vertices, and the same here. In short, it's not good at all. At all. At all, at all, and this is not right. It needs to be changed. You may have also noticed that in object mode we think everything is fine. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 vertices, 1, 2, 3, 4 edges, and we have one face, which is a quad. Well, if we switch to vertex mode, we realize that there are actually points, because there can be points in Maya that are not connected to each other by an edge. And yes, indeed. It can happen to have such oversights, where you will see when we model. There can be problems, especially when we make cuts, things like that. There can be issues. So this is super important because it can bring you unimaginable troubles. So yes, it's true that when we are in object mode we really don't notice, but there is indeed a handgun. And there are many of them all along the length of the object. So that's very bad. That's very bad. And you will tell me, yes, so why actually? So yes, it will indeed be bad for animation. We won't get the right deformations that we want. Imagine that we want to crush the slushy. Ultimately, with this topology, it's not going to be very, very great. It's going to be much better with this. Let's not even talk about it. But it's not just that. It's also related to shading. So I removed the wireframe so you can see that here we have a relatively correct shading that has no artifacts. We call these artifacts. If we get closer to this, you can see that at this point, if I put it in surprise, you see that we have mini, 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 mini. And this is really, if you will, do you see these little things appearing there? This is really, if you will, edges that are a bit pinched. And we don't notice it well here, but when we remove it, we can see it clearly. That there are places that are particularly due to that. Places that are really ugly indeed, we can say. And it's the same here, you see. Here, bam. We realize that what we've done here isn't very nice. So sometimes I tell you that your modeling will never be perfectly straight. Here, these are super easy and simple shapes. But our goal is really to actually avoid things that are not very beautiful. So we are going to try to make something really clean, really square, so that you have a top-notch modeling. And even if you are there to do your modeling and you have no intention of animating it or showing it to someone who knows about it, it is still very interesting to train yourself from the beginning to have something clean. And it's honestly very, very important. Extremely important. And here, it's the same. Exactly the same. You see, there are actually also some really very tiny imperfections here that make it just not smooth. It's not very nice, and we also have here because we have handguns. So there you go, to summarize, quads, triangles, when there's no other option. Favor a topology that is clean, so not things that are a bit zigzag like that. And handguns should be banned. So we can indeed very well make handguns at the beginning when we are modeling. That is to say, when you are at the very beginning of your modeling, you have handguns because you start by modeling a bit hastily. What we can generally do when we are doing blockings, that is to say, modeling our object in a somewhat rough manner to refine it little by little like a sculptor who starts with a large block of ice or clay and gradually goes into more detail, will be somewhat similar for us. So we may end up having handguns, but the important thing is that in the end, there aren't any. Basically, you might create handguns at the beginning, but you will need to correct them afterwards. These are things that are not meant to stay there, so it's extremely important. So to summarize, quads, triangles if we have no other choice, and a topology that is harmonious.